Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this World Printers Forum and OPHAL webinar. We have called this Paper Transport by Road Requirements and Challenges. My name is Ingi Olafsson, and I'm the director of the World Printers Forum at WAN-IFRA. I will be moderating the session today. And with me is Martin Gercke from Hylte Paper and Hendryck Mackowiak from HGK. A little bit about the speakers. Martin Gercke is the sales manager at Hylte Paper in Sweden. Previously, Martin worked for Stora Enso as their vice president of technical sales and other various roles within Stora Enso. He's also a very active member of the OPHAL board and has worked on all kinds of assignments for the OPHAL board, and he will tell us a little bit about the OPHAL board and the work that OPHAL is doing after this. And we also have Hendryck Mackowiak of HGK. He's been working since 2002 in various roles for Pohl and Co., GmbH, and HGK Logistics. Hendryck is based out of Hamburg. Before we start, I want to tell you a little bit about the World Printers Summit that's taking place in Vienna this fall. It's going to take place on the 8th and 9th of October. It's if you don't know what it is the event where the World Printers Forum community meets of WAN-IFRA. We have had these events for the past 3 years in Frankfurt, but now we are moving to Vienna. And it's a very nice blend of conference material and supplier meetings. And the community meets there and has a great time and informing time as well. I will share the link in the chat session where you can look at the website and then hopefully register there. I also encourage you to post all your questions to the Q&A button at the bar below, because we will do a Q&A session after they have finished talking. And we assume the talks will take around half an hour, maybe a little longer, and then we use the remaining 30 minutes or remaining time of the full hour to take questions. So I will say the floor is yours, Martin, if you want to start and tell us a little bit about the OPHAL.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Ingi, for the introduction. Yeah, OPHAL stands for Optimized Paper Handling and Logistics, and it is a cooperation together with the WAN-IFRA and some other organizations you can see here. The project started a couple of years ago, really to try to bring the expertise through the whole of paper supply chain together. And lots of companies, organizations participated and gave their knowledge to this guide, which I will explain a little bit as well. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, why do we have created that organization, or why do we saw a need to make sure that paper is used as efficiently as possible? Because if you look at the chart, the paper trail from starting from the tree, getting to the paper mill, and then the paper products, mainly in reels we are talking about, but there's pallets as well, of course. Then through various transport modes until it gets to warehouses, converters, and finally to the unit or the customer, which is then transforming the paper into a printed or converted product. So paper reels are handled very often. They have a high value of the whole final product, and hence it is very important to make the use efficient and to avoid any types of damages. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we have created this best practice guide really as a reference case for the entire supply chain. Hopefully can it avoid questions and offset a little bit the decline in availability of skills, which we can see. And as well, it helps to identify what is mentioned here as lean and green, really to make the process as efficient as possible. Sustainability is higher and higher on the agenda. And the recommendations made in those guidelines, okay, it might have started with newsprint, but they're really applicable to many print and converting processes. Next slide, please. So you will see this guidebook can be downloaded from the OPHAL website. You will see the link later on as well. And there are in fact many modules, and today's sessions we will focus on road transport, which is the section number 7, and part of it is securing and lashing, module number 6, which Hendryck will highlight some important aspects as well. Yeah, let's get and dive into the topic today, paper transport by road, requirements and challenges. And we have the following topics we want to cover today. Next slide, please. Yeah, we do a quick introduction of our two companies so that you know who's talking here. Then Hendryck will go through the basic requirements for road vehicles, what types of specialized vehicles are existing, how to inspect vehicles, how to secure loads because you have something round and cylindric. So how do you fix that to a trailer that it doesn't cause any damages to the product, but it's as well a secure issue if something happens on the road. And at the last point, I will highlight a little bit of topics on the sustainability on the road transport. And as Ingi pointed out, we will have enough time, hopefully, for Q&A, and please place them into the Q&A so that Ingi can pick them up and read out to all participants, and we will try to answer as much and as good as possible we can. With that, I would say, Hendryck, the floor is yours, and next slide, please.
Thank you, Martin. Hello to everyone. Yeah, first of all, I want to just to give some words to our group, the HEK Logistics Group. We are offering integrated logistics services suitable in the transport chain, which are divided in 5 divisions. Only some words, not to borrow anybody, some words. The first of all is, the first division is HGK Logistics and Intermodal, where we belong to. We have a port and terminal network in Germany, it's placed. So we have 21 terminals and port storage capacity, 700 hectares. We have via our terminals, we have 3 million TEU handlings. That's some words to the HGK Logistics and Intermodal. Maybe we can take the next slide. There are the facts are also mentioned. Well, also belonging to the group, it's HGK Shipping. It's the largest inland shipping company in Europe with a fleet of around 350 own inland motorway vessels, smaller ships. So the main customers for them are the chemicals, and you can see on the right hand side. The next one is HGK, the rail operating. We are operating with a fleet of 90 own locomotives. We have a huge network on railroads, which we operate in the Rhine area. So this is also belonging to the group. We have the infrastructure and maintenance. They are taking care of all the things which are going on in the port. You can have seen on the first picture the cranes they are operating, and they're taking care of all the infrastructure. And what we also belong, or which also belong to, it's the real estate. This is they are doing developing of brownfield and greenfield operations. They are building up new warehouses. They are taking care of the existing ones and so on. That's only some words to our HGK group. Next slide, please.
Yeah, just to interrupt you quickly, Hendryck, a couple of words to Hylte Paper, because not everyone might know that that production unit is pretty old, sitting in the middle of Sweden since 1907, and it was for many years part of the Stora Enso group, and it has been sold to a family-owned company last year. and Hylte Paper is focusing on production of graphic and packaging paper out of 100% sustainable wood. And yeah, our markets are in Europe and across the world. But enough of that, and I would say let's dive into the topic. And Hendryck, back to you again.
Next slide. Thank you, Martin. So the basic requirements we are talking about for the paper. Everybody wants their goods in a good condition to be delivered or received, and that's why it's necessary that we take the right trailers and the right cargo unit for each cargo. So for us, and that's one of the main topics, or the main topics we have seen, and together with the customers, there are some necessary points. Vehicles must be improved by authorities. Okay, I think that's one of the reasons we all want to have the right safety. The maintenance and repairs must be done. That's also necessary that everything is in a good shape and it's suitable for the cargo we are transporting. Tires are in good condition. Everybody wants to have the right equipment, even the tires needs to be checked, and all the environmental standards like the needs to be efficient. And of course, what we are talking about, and we will see afterwards, all the necessary lashing and securing equipment needs to be available at all vehicles. And we are not only talking about emergency for the cargo, also for the drivers, or if something happened on the road, that this is also needs to be presented by the drivers due to loading. Next slide. Another thing is that all vehicles must be fulfilled the requirements for the country they are going through, where they are loading or unloading. It's not only the country where they are registered, it's also necessary where are they placed and where are they going through. One other important thing is that the drivers are trained in the right way, not only for the road, even for the driving, that they know how to, as mentioned, the fuel efficiency and defensive driving, because the load is really dangerous and it takes a long time for stopping and so on, and that they are really aware of what is going on. This is also really important. Next slide, please. Coming to the different requirements for the loading, we are mainly talking nowadays, we are talking about standing loading, standing reels. Therefore, we have the trucks with the U-loader system, which is really efficient and it really is used. That's there are slides inside the trailers. We can see on the picture on the left-hand side, and in the middle, they can lift up the rears. This is good loading from behind. And then they can slide the rears in front of the trailer. Yeah, and place them in a good way and taking care that they get not damaged. Another thing is the loading from the side. We can see on the picture on the right-hand side, which is quite helpful for laying or for bigger reels, which cannot be used with the U-loader system, because for the U-loader system there is a for the weight of the reels that can be only up to 3 tons. So, and that's why it's very efficient to load them from the side for the bigger reels, or even if the premises where the loading or the unloading takes place, that's not possible to load it from behind or to go on with the forklift on the trailer. That's why it's good to have the right trailer to unload from the side. If we are loading from the side, or we're loading laying reels, or so-called shotgun, it's really important that you have the right wedges for the for the reels for securing, and therefore it's necessary to have the right trailer and the right bars inside the trailer to fix the wedges. Another thing is what you can see on the left-hand side on the bottom. It's a box trailer with a conveyor belt. It's a full automatically loading and unloading of the reels, which is good if their unloading takes place as it was a requirement from Springer many years ago for the full automatic unloading, where we are, or the last one, we're touching the reels and putting it in the trailer, and it's automatic driving by remote control, that the reels going into the box and full automatically out and directly to into the printing house. Next one. Now we are coming to the inspection. What is necessary to check before we load the trailers? That's a list or some facts what we give all to our forklift drivers and to all our truck drivers who has to take care of the condition of the trailer. First of all, clear the floor, because the reels are getting fully in touch with the floor, and it's necessary that the floor is in good condition and fulfill all the requirements which are needed. We can see the nice picture was taken by Martin, that the truck is driving on the trailer. This is something which is that the trailer can be used for it. The trailer is that the walls from the trailer are in good conditions. That the curtain is good to open and to unopen, or that it's good for watertight, that nothing can go inside from the side of the trailer, and the doors, of course, needs to be in good condition, that can be open and unopened. Next one. The water tightness, what we already mentioned for the walls and for the doors and the curtains. It's absolutely necessary. I think it's clear for everyone. Paper and water doesn't fit, and therefore it's really necessary to check before loading. A door, of course, nobody wants to have smell inside the trailer, and because this could be adopted by the reels, and as long as the smell is good, the paper can be loaded on the trailer. If not, but sometimes there was another cargo on the trailer and they took the smell, and that's why they can't be loaded, and that's why it's necessary that the guys are checking first. And of course, lashing and securing material, which we will be seeing on the next slide, needs also be in perfect condition to make sure not only that the cargo is arriving in a good condition, even if they are on the road, that nothing happened in case of emergency break or something, that the load is not on the trailer anymore. Nobody wants to see one of these reels on the road. Next slide, please. There we see a hook, which we will see on the next page, but not yet. For the belts, for lashing and securing, and of course it's necessary that the lashing points are in good condition and that they are placed in the right way, that that the angle for the bolts can be placed in the right way to secure the cargo in the right way. Lashing points, yeah, it's a good thing. More of even if there are more, it's always a good thing. Next slide. Now we see a good picture. No, I think everyone in the paper business knows that these are damages you don't want to see. You don't want to see in the warehouse. You don't want to see on the truck, and at least nobody wants to see that in the printing machine. And that's why it's necessary that on the transport these edges are protected in a best way. Therefore, it's necessary that you use the right edge protections. We can see the black one, that's the right one. The first one, nobody wants to see carton edge protected because they are not efficient and they are not doing the job or the job which is needed to protect the edges from the belt. There are some requirements to the edge protectors. It cannot be used everyone. It's not good if you have flexible ones. They need guidance for the belt, and that is in that even the surface that fits to the reel, because as Martin mentioned, we are talking about roundy and cylindrical cargo. Yes, I think the points are mentioned and they are clear. And it's also mentioned carton board protectors are not doing the jobs, and that's really, really important.
Yeah, Hendryck,
Yeah.
maybe a question to that. So some edge protectors, they might look good, but they're not good. So how can you be 100% sure that they are the right quality?
Yeah, as I mentioned, that the most important point that they are not that flexible as like carton boards, or sometimes you see these gray ones or something. They are too small. They are not fitting to the reel. That's the main thing, and it's also a good thing that the picture is shown at all our gates where we are loading, and also the gates where the drivers are coming and see what has happened. And if our truck drivers see that are not the right ones, they are next to the loading area, that we can give them to the trailers or to the loading guard, and that to make sure that it's the right ones and everybody is trained. But the main thing is that they are in the right size, and yeah, that they are strong enough. Yeah, as I mentioned, they are strong enough to stress the resident.
Thank you.
Okay, next slide. Also necessary, the belts for securing, which come over to it. There are also some requirements. You can see it's good. It's a good picture, I think, because we are talking about the long level ratchets, because there you make sure you have the right force for the reels, that they are really put down to the trailer, and that the belts really needs to be fitted to the cargo. Because as you see, maybe from your private use, if you have some cargo in your car, there are smaller ones. They are definitely not fitting to the paper reels, but I think that's sure for. And you can also see, or there's also mentioned, the standard requirements for paper transports down on this slide.
Can I ask a question? Henry, can I ask a question to that as well, please?
Yeah, of course. Maybe we can go back to the slide before and
The question is that really to identify the correct tension when then these ratchets are tightened, because even with it looks like, well, from experience, that even with the right edge protectors, it can be over tightened. Is that possible, or is that always better to go for the maximum?
No, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. That's also something which we see and which we recognize, because everybody thinks as much as possible is the best thing, and that's not the right way to doing it over here. You need some experience, of course, but that's quite helpful. That's quite helpful for these longer ones, that you can make sure that it's not over tightened, that they're not, because even if you put too much pressure on it, then even the edge protectors are not strong enough to do their job in the right way. So, and therefore it's important that you have the right tension, and that's why the long lever ratchet are used, because then you can better adapt the right pressure to do that, or the guys who are putting the pressure on the belt. So therefore it's necessary. If you use the short ones, then you are more used to it to put more pressure on it, and that's quite helpful. That's why the long lever ratchets are required.
Thank you.
Next slide. There are some, now you can see some pictures for belts which are not usable anymore. So I think that's explained. This is also something we are teaching all the forklift drivers, that they have to check the lashing and securing and even the belts, and they are marked. And if there occurs some belts with oil stands or some broken ones, as you can see, or with some cuts, or even if they see that the ratchets are hit or something, they have to be refused and taken out for loading. That's not possible to load anyone. So that's a huge requirement, and this is also checked and double checked by the guys and by our security guys who are doing random spot checks for the lashing before they leave our terminals. Next slide. Now we have seen all the things on top of the reels. Now we have to talk about the things when the reels are standing on the trailer, that they cannot move, or therefore we also use the anti-slip material. You can see on the pictures, even the right ones and the wrong ones. I think everybody has seen already then, or even somewhere, laying somewhere. And also there are special requirements. The most thing is they can't be dirty, they have to be in the right tension, they have to be the right height and the length. Even in the checking, or if you have a control by authorities, they need to see them, even if the load is on the trailer. It's not enough to tell them, yeah, there is something under the reel, but you can't see. No, that's the right. You can see on the first pictures, both with the black one and the blue one. This is the right way of loading, that everybody can see that these are used. That's a very important thing. Also the height, you can see on the last picture. If it's too high, it's not the right one. You have to be the right one. It's on the left side, on the right side, because then you make sure that there is not too much space between the material and the trailer and the reel, so that this is also in the right way of loading. Important also, some can be used twice. Mainly they are prepared to use only once. If they are used or wants to be used in a second time or a third time, they need to be certified. And this is a certified which is by the producers. And there are some you can use or much more often, but the main are used just for one. And this is something which is also really necessary to make sure that nothing can happen due to transport. I think there are really nice pictures to see what is the right one, what is the wrong one, and even in a way of loading. Here. Last but not least, very important, wedges, which I mentioned. Next slide, please. Wedges, which needs to be used or are mainly used for, as you can see, loading and shotgun. There is important that they are put in the right position in the right way, that they are fixed, and iron wedges highly appreciated and mainly used. All our trailers use only iron wedges because the wood wedges are can be helpful, but they are not working as iron wedges because the wood wedges cannot so fix. And even with the trailer of the new standards, the trailer bottom are not made therefore to fix anyone with some nails or something, and therefore it's for us important to use the right wedges and that you can fix it. And even what I mentioned in some slides before, that the bars are inside the trailer, you can see next to the wedges, the aluminium ones, that they are placed in the right way, so you can fix the wedges in the right way. So yeah, so that's in a short way to give you a short overview what is necessary and important to have the lashing, securing, and transport for paper reels in the right way. And yeah, and if there are some questions, I'm open.
Yeah, let's do the next slide first, please, and then we go to the questions. Yeah, there, as Hendryck pointed out, of course, there are lots of requirements to consider when fixing, transporting reels, but in the bigger picture, of course, it's very important to look as well how to minimize an environmental impact. More and more customers are demanding a low carbon footprint, and the so-called cradle to cradle and many other schemes take now the transport to the customers into account. So it's very important why we put here some recommendations together, really to work with a logistic provider together, starting from the load planning, from the advanced planning, so that they can book trailers or other transport methods, and as well to look is really a lorry and a trailer the right way to transport it all the way, or can it be combined? Ship, railway, intermodal is now becoming more and more efficient in Europe. Rail doesn't have a very good recommendations because sometimes railway wagons get lost or it takes forever. And unfortunately, we have a bit of a just-in-time product because most customers do not have enough warehouses themselves. So they insist on pretty much on-time delivery. So you need the good trailer and so on, but on certain stretches of the delivery, from the original production point or from a warehouse close to the customer, it can be maybe a different routing can be chosen. And like Hendryck showed, companies like his, they have ships, they have locomotives. So it's good to have a logistic provider who can really, as a one-stop call, help them to optimize. Of course, the cost, that is one thing, but more and more important is really the carbon emissions to get that going. Finding vehicles, you see now articles that certain paper companies are using electrical vehicles. So to really optimize biofuels, all those things. Intermodal transport I mentioned here, really, can you combine a trailer and put that on a train and then move it forward, and then just an engine is picking it up and doing the final mile. That works across Europe more and more, especially when you ship something over the Alps and so on. The train or these intermodal trains are really a very good option. And load planning is important. Really, sometimes customers are asking for 26 tons of something, and 24 tons fit on one truck. So really making the customer as well aware to ensure that trailers are really used to the full, and that we avoid part load deliveries if we cannot combine it with other topics. Why is the whole optimization of the transport chain important as well? Is roads get blocked, driver shortages is a big topic, skilled drivers to find is a very big topic. So the more we optimize and the more empty loads we can avoid, the better for the whole supply chain. So I would say we have now covered most points in the presentation type, but that leaves us hopefully enough time now for lots of questions. And Ingi, can I give it then back to you?
Yes.
And next slide, please.
Yeah, thank you, Martin and Hendryck, for a fantastic presentation. And I'll stop the sharing now so we can start the meeting. Hendryck, you can turn on your camera again if you want. Yes, we have several questions that have come through the Q&A bar, and I strongly recommend that you add more to it, because it's as you can hear, we have specialists here that are willing to answer and waiting for your questions. So I'll start with this one. How to identify the best suitable type of trailer? Who wants to take this one?
I can start, but Hendryck can then add on, of course. Yeah, it depends very much. You have to define what type of load you have to transport. Is it large reels over 3 tons? Is it a certain reel width? Then you have to put them on the belly. Can you put them upstanding? And then the transport distance plays a role, because some of the specialist trailers shown by Hendryck are not always available from every location. So lots of points to consider to make sure the right trailer has been chosen, but ideally a special trailer is used as mentioned by Hendryck. Hendryck, anything to add?
No, not at all. So good to hear that you listen perfectly to the presentation. So it's really, as you just mentioned, the box trailer with the conveyor belt, for example, is one of these which doesn't make sense for long distance transport. It's always for short distance. And yeah, of course. And as I mentioned, important the loading, of course, if we are talking about the laying reels, that we are really making sure that there are the iron meches on the trailer to have the right loading. Yeah, possible. But perfect answer from your side. Yep.
Excellent. So how would you identify the best suitable type of trailer? Yeah, this is what we have done. Okay. Do all vehicles have lashing points?
Yes.
Yes.
All of them. But if you're talking to the guys who are selling the trailers, there are special ones, of course, for machinery, and we have so-called paper liners, and there are some more than for the others. Yeah, if you're transporting a big construction machine or something, there are other requirements, of course, but mainly they have the lashing points, because if you're transporting a pallet or something, they need also be secured with belts as well, and therefore lashing points are needed as well. So most of them, yes, to answer the question. Yep.
You want to add to that, Martin? Or is it?
No, that's well answered. Thank you.
Okay. How would you identify the right edge protector? Some look good, but are too soft. What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I think Hendryck covered that already.
Okay.
So you have to make sure that they are stiff enough, but and wide enough so that they don't give in too quickly when the lashes or when the belts are tightened.
Good. So maybe here's a relevant question also. How well are the road transporting companies aware about the requirements Hendryck explained?
It's a good question, but I think it's like all over the world. If you are in the business, you are doing the sourcing of your supplier as well, and you give the requirements to your repliers. You check the replies. You are in contact with the replies, and yeah, it's a management of the suppliers. So, and that's why. All of us, but if you are using the spot market, of course, they are not the best lashing and securing material for paper reels. Of course, if they are not used to it, then it's not possible. But therefore, as I mentioned, we have enough lashing and securing material at each gate for loading and unloading, and then we can give it to the guys and they use it, and sometimes we help them to use it because they are not used to it, and that's why. But yeah, it's a management of the supplies, of course.
Okay. Will the lashing points and the belts hold in the case of emergency braking, for instance?
I hope so, Hendryck. That's the whole goal of them.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
So it should be secured in enough for an emergency braking.
Yeah.
We had this point in the comment section, which is a good point, which I'm gonna read out now. The minimum lashing force for a vehicle over 12 tons is 2,000 DAN. Source Dyne ENS 12640 2020-5. This should therefore be taken into account when selecting vehicles. In my opinion, 2,500 DAN is therefore too high. The belt elongation of 7% is no longer the current standard. The paper industry recommends a maximum elongation of 5% in the association of recommendation. So this is that point.
Hendryck, only you can comment on that.
What would you think about that, Hendryck? This comment.
Yes. Yeah, that's how to comment. Okay. I think it's not wrong. It's not wrong. We are still in with the allocation. It's still okay. It's still fine. Of course, there are always things to optimize, which are necessary, of course. Yeah, I would say.
I mean, if there's because the listener is stating a German norm, so of course we have to make sure that we fulfill certain norms. But as you said, it's not that black and white that exactly that tension has been used. I mean, this was my question during your presentation, isn't it? How do you really measure the tension when someone is tightening these belts or these lashes?
Yeah, that's how to answer this one. Of course, it's possible. It's possible to check the right tension by the belts. There's a so-called machine you can place on the belts. You can place on the belts. What we do in random checks. You put it between the reel and the wedge and see the tightness of the belts. So this is something you can measure what we do.
Good.
Martin, you mentioned the German standard. This what I just read out. Is it just applicable to Germany, or is it a European thing where you could use it? I mean, is it?
I'm not expert for that enough, because many of these D norms, they go into ISO norms, but I would not know.
Yeah, but I assume
it's
that
good to look that up and making sure that it's covered.
Yeah, but I assume that if you tighten the roll too fast, it's gonna, or too tight, it's gonna, you know, damage the roll, of course. So you have to have
it.
Tightness.
But better a slightly damaged roll than something when moving when there's an accident.
Yeah.
So it's always, I don't think it's black and white to find out the right spot.
Okay. So here's actually the final question we have to have today. What is the view on trailers with anti-slip floors? You know this? Anti-slip floors.
Yeah. You can have the surface which is like anti-slip mat. So there are certain trailer surfaces which are rough. As a paper maker, I would say that. Hendryck?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same. No. They are not used in the paper transport. What we have seen is that some producers putting that, or have the combination with their lids, that they are prepared like that the lids of the paper reel are covered with some material to make these anti-slip maps useless, that they are not need to be put down in the trailer again. This is something we can see, but this is also only for one transport. If you have two transports or one transport from the mill to the warehouse, that's only for that transport. If you have the second leg from the warehouse to the printing house, then you have to use the anti-slip mats again. So, and that's why that's also necessary to know. But for the trailer, mainly it doesn't make sense, because this is also damaged by loading, or because the trailer is not used only once. And yeah, that's why we are always take these anti-slip mats. That's necessary.
Well, that's a pretty clear answer, because I've heard, or I have heard about those anti-slip surfaces, but your recommendation is not to use them. Good.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to mention that Ralf Schöne was the one who made this comment above that I read out. He's also commented here, the BGL and the VDP Association's recommendations describe the requirements for edge protectors, lashing straps, and anti-slip mats. Just to have that.
Yeah, there's various sources to find them, but very good comment. Thank you.
Good comment. One more question that came through the Q&A. Of course, you can post still. We have 12 minutes left of the official time. We are insurers stumble too often to vetting damaged and damages occurred to pebbles, small stones. Any ideas how to mitigate these damages in general for the paper industry?
Oh, that's a brilliant question, and yeah, I can start answering. I mean, some of those. This is exactly why we have done this webinar today, because to make people more aware how to inspect the vehicle and making sure you don't have whatever transported potatoes or stones on the delivery before, and then you suddenly want to transport paper reels, and then you have a not clean surface. So that is definitely how you avoid pebbles and stones in the reels if they have not been picked up from the warehouse already, of course. So that needs to be checked. And we covered that in other webinars already. And wet damages is definitely critical. That, as Hendryck pointed out, you have to check the curtains and you have to check the flooring board, so that whatever splashes are coming from the wheels, that they don't go through and damage the reels. Because yes, the paper is wrapped and protected a little bit against humidity, but if the trailer is not secured and it goes through rain, the reels will become wet. So that's pretty clear. So only good inspection and regular checks can really limit that type of really annoying problem. Hendryck, to add?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is one of the main focus we always put on our guys in the warehouse to take care. And even if they, another thing is when the clamp truck is going outside of the warehouse, that they are not going on the trailer again after a second or to check. And if they are going on the trailer, to check what happened afterwards, and yeah, to clean it up, it's necessary. And also doing the storage in the warehouse, it's all the same. Always checking by the people. Yeah, this is the main thing.
Okay, we're getting more questions into the Q&A. Thank you for that. As a trader who is loading from our supplier load points across the world, can you advise who is responsible for lashing and securing products inside the trailer?
Hendryck?
Yeah, very good question. Very good question. Always the one who is loading. Always the one who is loading, who is responsible for the cargo securing. So, of course, when the driver starts, he also has to make sure that everybody is in good condition, and also has to tell the guys who do the lashing and securing or the loading to do it in the right way. So everybody needs to take care and be responsible. But at the end, the guy who is doing the loading, who is responsible, that's the one who's responsible for lashing and securing.
Just to follow up on that, what is the driver's responsibility regarding the lashing of the load?
To make sure that the load is put in the proper way, that not the main cargo is in the front and the other thing, that the right positioning of the load, that's his responsibility as well, to take care before he starts. But to point it out, who is loading the trailer, who's responsible for everything. So to make sure.
Okay. Any last points, guys, you want to make? Because now we don't have any more questions, and we've covered quite a lot today, and had very good questions and good talk here after the presentations. Any final words you wanna give to the audience that has stuck with us for the whole hour? Very nice.
Yeah, thanks, Hendryck, for your insights. Really appreciate it. And I would say, yes, please reach out for further questions. We are available if needed. And please look at the OPHAL website for our OPHAL guidebook, because there's so much information in there which we could only cover very small bits and pieces today. So there's a lot of information covered in the questions, but much more than can be done. And of course, if things needs to be updated, like whatever legislation is changing, then of course we have to keep track on that as well, and making sure that the guidebook is up to date.
Exactly. So,
Hendryck, any feedback from your first webinar?
No, thanks for attending, and thanks for your help. And yeah, some points could be cleared out. That's good. And as I have seen on your answers, which was only the same as mine, so it seems to be a good one. Thank you.
yeah, great job, Hendryck, for your first webinar. Very, very professional, and also good job, Martin. And thank you. Thanks to everybody that attended today. It was a great attendance, and people stuck with us for the whole time, which is a sign of that we're doing something interesting, I guess. I thank you all for for attending today, and I hope to see you next time in our WPF webinar or OPHAL webinar. And also, please check out the World Printers Summit webpage and see if you find something interesting there to attend this fall in Vienna. So thank you guys for today, Hendryck and Martin. See you hopefully around somewhere, and have a wonderful day, and see you all later. All the best. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye bye.